Welcome. You are at the CCC,
where there are no outside issues. Hi, my name is Bonnie Violet. I'm a trans, femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, and person in recovery.
Hi, my name's Anthony. I'm an addict and alcoholic, a seventh-year doctoral student in clinical psych. I care about you, and I'm filming live from Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
Bethlehem. And I'm Lulu, and I am a former Miss Castro Country Club. My pronouns are he and him. I am in recovery for crystal meth and alcohol, and I am always in search of balance.
And each week we will provide and create a brave space where we engage in topics of recovery.
Our intention is to hold and inspire better spaces for people in recovery
by tackling topics sometimes used to separate us.
Before we do that, like, subscribe, ding that bell. Ding, 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 ding.
Absolutely.
Ding. Now, one other thing before we go on. The opinions expressed here are solely our opinions. They're not the opinions of the Castro Country Club. We don't represent any particular program. As usual, don't take advice from a podcast. Don't listen too closely to what we say. And
because the sound isn't great, or?
Well, because we might steer you in the wrong direction. And if you walk into traffic, we don't want to be responsible for that.
There you go.
Not at all.
Yeah.
It's like those YouTube channels where it's like, this is for entertainment purposes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is for entertainment purposes. But I was watching, the Miss Cleo documentary on Netflix. And that's what got them in trouble, because they thought that if they just put this is for entertainment purposes only, they couldn't get in trouble. But basically, they're all, this is fraud, outright fraud.
Did they get Priyanka to play her?
No. So it was like a documentary, a live documentary.
Oh, documentary.
And it was actually quite interesting because she, if you followed the story about Miss Cleo, the psychic, most people thought it was that she was the one who was a fraud. I mean, obviously she had her own kind of grift on the side, but with regards to this, they basically just filmed like this infomercial with her, and they use her likeness as kind of a way to keep this going, and they had all of these people working under, and she didn't really make any money from it, so that's why they dismissed her from the lawsuit. So they basically like made all this money and was just being obnoxious. But later in life, I mean, she passed away, but later in life, she ended up coming out. She was a lesbian woman.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow, what a dynamic story.
The story was amazing, yeah. That's what I did over the holiday.
Watched Miss Cleo?
Well, that and other things. I had a really nice holiday.
Yeah, me too. I came here.
Yeah.
There were so many people here for like Christmas dinner. It was great.
And I saw Avatar.
How was that?
Oh, I saw that too. What did you think?
You know what? For what it was, I enjoyed it, but I realized I had a conversation with someone about why they weren't going to see it, and I think that some of the messages in the film were a little off. I mean, and outdated, because it was that white male savior type situation going with Jake Sully, and it just doubled down on it. But I thought it was entertaining. It was just long. I mean, it's like I like to go and get my icy. And not have to go by slurping. I
had an icy too,
and not have to go to the bathroom, because then you'll miss the good parts. But it was so long. I need to go, or I'm going to pee in this auditorium.
There's so much planning that goes into that movie. I heard that they've already recorded parts of like the fourth and fifth. I don't know, at least the next couple movies. I thought they set up to like 5 or something.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I read up to 5 too, and that the rationale behind it was that the producers or the director wanted to avoid having to deal with characters aging, and also he wanted to make sure that like he could hold on to the momentum of like its appeal, as opposed to kind of going a long time without seeing it again.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like 20, 30 years later, like how?
Yeah, I don't know, but that shit was long. I need to repeat that. Like, it was so long. So in the movie theater that over here, like you can pull up the arms and you can like access the other seats. Like I full on took an 1.5 hour nap during the movie, because I was like, this shit is too long. You
know what I realized? Okay, so we're talking about this, but I realized there's a lot of stuff in there that you could have shortened, that it didn't need to have the whole montage. It could have been a shortened montage with some good music. Yep. Yes, exactly. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of like filler stuff, because it's so beautiful. And I was like, I felt like I was on vacation on Pandora.
And the ending, I thought the ending was really good.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like I thought that was really gripping, and I was like, oh, okay, y'all wrap this up real nicely. So yeah, that was Avatar.
We're movie critics now, huh?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, apparently.
So you can listen to us on this one. Yeah.
Right. Next season.
My trip has been absolutely wonderful. I had dinner today with my dad and my stepmom. My stepmom's Colombian, so we had like traditional Colombian food, and it was absolutely delicious.
Nice. You were like the baby Jesus for us because you went to Bethlehem. Huh?
Yeah, I've been meaning to take pictures of stuff, but I've been going from like place to place, so I haven't been able to do like touristy things. But it's just been wonderful. It's been really nice to see my family. I like the feeling where like I'm sitting at the kitchen table and we're talking, and it feels like no time has gone by at all. So that's been really nice.
And that connection, like when you're with family, that connection that you have, that's just that, it's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really nice. And all of that to say that I also miss everyone back in San Francisco. I feel like my sober community in San Francisco made this particular trip possible, right? Because I went estranged from my family for such a long time. And while I was estranged, like I had all the community, like my sober community in San Francisco that was like taking care of me and like helping me like get past certain things. And I feel like I owe this trip to a lot of those people.
You were missed on Friday, and your special blend of organization at game night was definitely missed.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want to go back. I miss everyone. Shall we talk about today's topic?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, hi, Erica.
Oh, hey, Erica.
Hey, Erica.
So today's topic, in keeping with our tradition, today is our retrospective. So we're reflecting on this past year, lessons that we've learned. This is definitely an episode where if you're listening in and you have some lessons you've learned along the way for this year, we absolutely want to hear you. But in the meantime, we'll talk about some of the things that we learned this past year. And so with that being said, what have folks come up with since the last time we spoke?
So something that involved the three of us.
Oh,
we had a conversation early on, and it had to do with how we were responding to something to how you were showing up, or how we assumed you were showing up. And I think that without going too far into detail or whatever, what I realized is it's important to pay attention to folks, to not just dismiss. Just because my experience says one thing doesn't mean that that's what's really going on. Kind of like with dismissing what you're going through as being overreactive or whatever. You remember all the conversations we had?
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But I think what I learned in that is, okay, so I've got to pay attention to the bigger picture, because you made some amazing points for me as a black man that I did not want to glaze over and not take seriously, because so often folks will assume, like at work is a perfect example. My tone, how someone will dismiss it as snarky when I'm thinking, this is just me talking. You don't like the way that I'm talking or whatever, my matter-of-fact tone that comes from trauma or whatever. But anyway, that for me, I think is a valuable, those conversations that we had, because I feel like we've done well not to go back there. But I also think that it's personal growth on each individual, because I think that it takes all of us, because we've been sassy, and come for each other, but it definitely wasn't that same kind of thing that could have damaged what we had here.
Yeah. But I think because we were in agreement with being in relationship in the way we are, we could have conflict, we could get emotional or have a reaction, and then we could talk about it and be better about it. You know what I mean?
And then you and I stopped laughing at Anthony just to laugh at him.
Right, just because. And Anthony stopped being bored.
I know.
All of that stuff, yeah.
I know.
Yeah, I if I can chime in, I think I think also what made all of that possible is there were a few things, at least for me. It was like a commitment to making the relationship work, and that commitment also being met by the two of you, and then also like a willingness, I think, on my part to be vulnerable, and a willingness to listen to how that's received, right? Because for me, at least, there are times where something has happened in the past where I'll just completely shut it out, and then I'll just remove myself from a situation, never talk to a person again, or I'll do a drive-by where I will say something to you, but then I'll run away from your answer, right? Or I will tell you the thing, I'll listen to your answer, but I won't receive it, right? And so those are all things that those are kind of relatively new things for me to do in this type of relationship. So that was definitely something I learned. Well, I guess if you had to summarize all of that in a sentence, like what would it be? Or if there were like bullet points. I guess we could distill it down to
healthy relationships.
Yeah, but I like honesty,
grace, grace, trust,
understanding, compassion. Maybe
compassion
and empathy.
I think trust,
and also
building.
also listening.
Yeah.
Like okay. I have one. So, I think I talked about this before on a previous episode where I had like two of my friends came for me in a way that I thought was like crazy, and to this day I think they're wrong. But I had a friend in the program, Jason B. Is it Jason B? Jason. Anyway,
works
to tell me, Anthony, when we say restraint of pen and tongue, we don't say restraint and pen and tongue unless we're right. And so I was like, oh, that's like a little mind blowing for me, because I thought, oh, I just have to keep my mouth shut when I'm angry, or like don't send that text message when I'm angry. But as a general principle, I can't try to argue with someone to be right about something, because it doesn't take me anywhere. So instead, I have to assess the relationship, and I have to think to myself, okay, is this something worth fighting for right now? And sometimes that fight for me is not necessarily do I prove my point, but am I okay, given the nature of this relationship, to just kind of take the L, what feels like an L anyway, and just let it go.
Did you decide?
Right?
Did you decide you're okay taking the L?
Yeah, like the loss. Like
exactly.
like, am I okay with not having someone repeat back to me, "Oh, you're right"?
You know what's really bad? I did not. It took me a while to figure out. Like I would hear people say, "Take the L, take the L." I'm like, what does that mean? Is that
It's a train in Chicago.
Is that a train? No. I'm all,
to take the loss.
Take the loss. Yeah. Duh. No. Okay, got it.
Yeah. But also on the East Coast, to take an L or to smoke an L is to smoke a blunt.
Okay.
Cut an L. So yeah.
So it's a very good point, because one of the things that I will say is I always talk to because of how I am with relationships, especially love, romantic relationships. When I'm talking to sponsees or talking to people, I always point out, first of all, this is how I show up, and so I really, I want to qualify this, because I don't want you to. I want to make sure that my bitterness or anything is not coming through. And I always say, you have to look at the relationship. Like you said, Anthony, what does this relationship mean to me? And what is it worth to me? And is it worth like maybe taking the L, or maybe kind of stepping, because some relationships are just doomed. There's nothing to it, because maybe this behavior is always going to be, you have somebody who's always going to be a fucking asshole, or always going to not be, and never hear your points, or never kind of give you the support that you might need in lifting. So it's like, yeah, okay, wonderful.
Yeah. Bonnie Violet?
I don't know. I've been kind of like trying to reflect on, I think sometimes, like, because I've been trying to think about it and just kind of like overall what my year has been. But I mean, I think there's been a lot of Speaking of loss, Anthony disappears.
Yeah.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
we can
If
hear
you're
you.
listening, Anthony is like he's.
I'm here. It's because I had to look at my notes and they're all on my
Okay.
phone.
Anthony's in a dark room waiting for
Right.
the next victim.
Yeah, I mean, I think like just to kind of in the realm of relationship stuff, I think I've had to really let go of some relationships that weren't, some relationships that just couldn't be what I thought they would be. And some other relationships I had to really let go of some of the expectations and things that were just not reasonable or not in line with that particular relationship if I wanted to stay in relationship with that person. And so I think I've been able to kind of like discern different ways of being in relationships and different ways and accepting the loss that might come from that as well.
I love this. I had a similar thought, just had to do with like authenticity. And maybe one of the things I think I learned this year is that as I near a more authentic me, or I live more authentically, the people who want me to be stagnant are going to get upset, right? Like I'm going to, by virtue of being more myself and being less accommodating or less like adaptive, adapting to people, that's going to upset people.
Right.
And I think that to me feels like the price of admissions. And it also highlights for me how I may have been caretaking, or I may have been like a chameleon, right? Because what I'm losing is not necessarily a relationship that's a relationship that I guess no longer serves me, right? It was serving a part of me that maybe was afraid, right? Maybe it was serving a part of me that needed to be liked. But just recently in the last couple of years, not the last couple of years, but in like this last year, I'm like, oh, actually the trade-off is actually, it feels much better. I get to not have to feel like restrained, and I don't have to feel so restricted in my conversations or how I show up if I'm not putting myself in the company of someone who makes me feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the gift of recovery. Like, acceptance of myself and how I'm showing up.
Yeah.
Not dimming my light, like as they might say, to make someone else feel better.
Right.
Not apologizing. And it's like in conversations that we had, like we had the show, we had our Kiki sessions, and they became, and they rightfully so got a little political, because we all are in, trans people, color, Anthony, we all have our things or whatever that we're passionate about. And I think that, tying into the topic, I think that as timid as I was about like, oh, we should have another show to explain it, we don't need to do that. Mm-hmm. We're going to reach who we reach.
Right.
And that's been the beauty.
And they're going to like us or they're not going to like us.
That's been the beauty of this. It's not about tone. It's not about like molding or shaping our conversation so that we can reach a certain person. It's about having our conversation so that we reach the people who are supposed to be reached.
Right.
And every time we have different conversation, people are going to be reached. Not everybody's going to be ready or want to participate in the conversation, but it doesn't mean we don't have it. And that was like what you were talking about. Like, well, we can't. I don't want to start over. I don't want to start over. Yeah. So I feel like I'm weaving all of the shows into my
totally.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
My life. This has really absolutely changed my life. Being able to have these conversations with the two of you, because I think the both of you are brilliant. Like,
I think the same of you.
No, I absolutely adore you, and I listen, and I try, and it's been the gift of taking it in and not taking it in and not take. What's the other way to say it? Like not taking taking something in, but not taking offense or
personal,
taking it personally, but really letting it come in, marinate, soak in me, so I can understand like a way, because as much as I'd like to think, I don't know everything, and I'm not always right. Although it seems like I am.
Well, and at the end of the day, I think we all trust each other enough to know that nobody's going to be coming at us with the intention of hurting us. So if we are feeling hurt by them, or we're feeling hurt by what's said, that's something to kind of like investigate. And maybe that involves that's some self-reflection and searching, and then also having a conversation. I think we've had some pretty challenging, I think, conversations. And I know I've had conversations with you all in ways that I wish I had in other relationships as well. So, I mean, I feel like we've been able to model and grow and go through a lot of, I think, what it is to be in a healthier relationship and a relationship in recovery as well.
Yeah. I think that's something that's been really strengthened this past year. Recovery for me, one of the things, like, I feel like I could have done a better job, like, just from where I'm standing, is although, I choose an abstinence only program, AA, my life is centered around AA. I do think there is a lot of value in other programs. And I'm saying that because I've learned a lot from AA, and my recovery this year has felt very different. It's felt super healthy. And at the same time, I feel like there's more out there for me to learn that maybe I can be more intentional about. I'd love to hear, if folks are listening in and they don't do AA, or maybe they're not even sober, but, they have thoughts and stuff like that they would want to share. I want to hear those, because sometimes I do feel like I live in a bubble, because basically like 95% of all my friends are in 12-step, and we all kind of say the same things and think very similarly when it comes to the way we organize sobriety.
Absolutely. And if it weren't for work, that other
Right.
5%, like something happened last night. I was in a meeting, and an individual shared from the floor. And,
Mitchell?
Huh? No.
Mitchell?
An individual.
An individual.
Oh, okay.
An individual. An individual shared from the floor, and they talked about how they weren't feeling a certain part of the steps, and they were this and that because they didn't work for them in the past, and blah, 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 and all this good stuff. And initially I started like, oh yeah, one of these. But then I had a moment and I realized, okay, this is what these are for. And this person, like, instead of looking at what this individual was going through as being defiant,
Right.
I saw the frustration, and I saw and I think that I don't know. It's like I just wanted to share that because I felt like that those moments. How we say sometimes we can't see the growth in ourselves. That was a moment of growth for me, because instead of making it about me, because I used to be, and sometimes I'm still like, when you say, you better not say anything bad about 12-step.
Right.
Because it's what I'm doing. Because if you say something bad, and especially if it sounds like it's really kind of on point,
Right.
it's going to really challenge what I'm doing. And I can't, right now, it's like...
Can't afford to get holes poked into that belief. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that your point about, like, okay, great, we've been in a bubble, but I think that recovery, and I've said this before, everything that touches is a part of my recovery. And once you get past the initial not drinking or using or whatever, recovery becomes about so much more. It's not just meetings. It's not just and it is about harm reduction and all those other things. It's like some people find like really there's so many different ways to explore it, and you can take everything that you want and make it better, because if anything that's going to help you be a better version of yourself, by all means, is a good thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you have something, Anthony? I saw you were looking at your list, right?
I was looking at my list, Bonnie Violet.
Anthony's been so sweet today. It's
I know, right?
It's like, come on, just go ahead.
I'm having such a good time over here. Yeah, I was thinking about my own happiness. And so when I originally did my 4-step, and for those who aren't familiar with the 4-step, basically it's a time when you look at all the people and all the things you've been angry with, and you kind of distill them, and you see what your part is in those experiences, so that you can get a better hold on what it will take to kind of make life a little easier, happier for yourself. So when I did my 4-step, one of the things I learned was I can't rely on other people to make me happy, which is a kind of like a very simple statement. And we talked about emotional sobriety at some point this year. And I talked about The New Frontier that was written by Bill Wilson. And that's one of the things he kind of arrives at is, while he's been doing all of these things, he's been very happy because he's, receiving this praise. And in the end, he realized actually it made him very unhappy because he was putting his happiness in the hands of other people. And eventually where he arrives at is that, obviously that we shouldn't do things with the intention of receiving praise, and that we shouldn't make our happiness, we shouldn't rely on other people to make us happy. So all of that is to say, so one of the things that I've arrived at this year is, oh, wow, like when I, for example, am trying to confront something about something that they've done that's upset me, and I am still upset by their answer, on some level, I have empowered this person to have a hold over whether or not I'm happy with myself.
Right.
And that's the first thing. The second thing is when I try to argue with this person in order to make myself feel okay, I've already made a situation worse, because I could hold on to something and metabolize it, take it to my sponsor, to therapy or something. I can metabolize it, or I can now argue with you and now have to deal with the mess that I've made arguing with you, plus the stuff that I'm already dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
That's the beauty of the 10-step, because I have less of those opportunities. The 10-step, a regular 10-step reminds me, okay, yeah, if I feel like I need to raise my voice or challenge, maybe I hold on to this and come back to you later, because I can always argue with you later.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, I've been able, I think the cool thing about this last year is I've been able to identify the feeling that comes up that's normally a red flag for me.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I feel so invested in something and I'm like, Anthony, literally, we're having pizza right now in a room where people are talking over each other. Like, what is really at stake here? You're not going to change anyone's opinion.
You're talking about a particular
Sounds very
moment
specific.
it sounds specific.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Both of you. But you know what I'm saying? It's like,
that's the time when what you're describing, that feeling, that sensation, that's when I know that I'm coming out of alignment with my higher power.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because if I'm so kind of, and I'm not willing to hear anything around me, and I'm so kind of set with it, because I always believe that the way that I connect and stay connected with my higher power is by talking to people. Is like this right now. It's talking, allowing myself to be open to everything that's coming my way.
Yeah. One thing I was thinking of, I think I was trying to figure out how to label it. I feel like in a lot of ways this year I've allowed myself to, I want to say, be ugly, in the sense of just, I feel like I've had emotional responses with people that I normally would not have. I feel like I've gotten upset with my mom and I've told her so, and it's just not something that I do. Or I left a relationship because, and even if it was my fault, I don't care, I can't do this. Right. And so I think there was an element of me which all comes down to authenticity and really honesty. But allowing myself to just be human.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like I have to contain all these emotions and I have to do everything right and correct and, all that sort of stuff. And I think in some ways I've just let myself, and in some ways it's just because, I've said this a lot, and I've labeled this year as probably one of the hardest years of my life, if not the hardest year of my life. And so I feel like I've held a lot of fear. I've held a lot of things that were not fun to hold and to sit through. But I didn't lose hope. I mean, there were times, but you know what I mean? I don't know. So I think that's part of it is I allowed myself to just kind of be in the mess and maybe not be stuck on being so productive or having, I've been unemployed most of the year and without a house. And, those are things that I never would have allowed myself to experience before for nothing. You know what I mean? And the reality is that I needed to let myself go in some of those areas of my life so that I could really grow. And I have yet to really see the benefit of what this year is going to mean for me, because it wasn't a lot of fear. It wasn't a lot of pain. It wasn't a lot for naught. Like I think it was extreme growth that I needed to go through in order to really become who I want to be, and I think 44 next year, I'll be 44. And I feel like that's going to be like a really great year for me.
I love that.
So I don't know if I learned anything, but I feel like that's what happened,
Yeah, I know.
Mm-hmm.
The lesson is yet to be learned, I think.
I hear that. I had a conversation with someone the other day where they were telling me that they had done something so horrible that they thought they were going to drink over it and all this other stuff. And all I kept thinking of is like, there's literally nothing you can tell me. Nothing you can tell me is going to convince me that actually, yeah, you're right. You should just totally stop going to meetings, and you should probably start doing drugs again. Like there's nothing you can tell me. And this person kept telling me, no, you don't know. It's so horrible. It's so horrible. And then at some point they told me, and of course I was like, dude, like if you think you're going to be the first or the last person to say or do something that offensive, like you're wrong, like just give yourself some grace. You have permission to be messy. And I think, Bonnie Violet, to your point, we do ourselves a disservice when we're trying to keep things so tidy all the time. Like sometimes I think I have to let myself fall apart a little bit, like sometimes I have to let my apartment look hella crazy and messy just so that I can be okay.
Yeah. That's grace. That's grace. That's the grace you've been talking about. What you were talking about, Anthony, the whole idea that, especially when we start working on the fourth step, I was telling Smonzies, I don't know where I got this from. If it's got a name for it, that means it's already been done.
Yeah.
It's like, you are not that special, so let go of it. Yeah.
Yeah. Maria Bamford, one of my favorite comedians, if not my favorite comedian, she has a whole bit where she says, basically something really similar. She's like, whatever you've done, you can Google it and someone's done it before. Exactly. You know what I mean? Like there's literally nothing.
And they've probably done it better. Oh, actually, on a side note, the funniest thing is like, okay, so Kathy Griffin, a comedian, she was talking about how she gave all of her neighbors cookies, and that's not the bad thing, but none of them would take them because she said only one of the cookies was poisoned. I don't know. I brought that up because you were talking about a comedian. Because this customer gave me some cookies, and I was telling people, but I opened up the cookies and I said, yeah, and the customer told me that only one of the cookies was poisoned. So see if they ate them. Something we were talking about before.
Jaylon.
Hello, Jaylon. I saw him last night at a meeting. I love you, Jaylon. So Jaylon says, my number one lesson this year was there's nothing wrong with elevation. I fear change, but I also fear staying too much the same.
Yeah.
Absolutely. No, there's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing. I think, unfortunately, folks around you, if you aren't mindful about the people that are around you, might make you feel some sort of way about elevation.
Well, an elevation might be a lifting, but it isn't necessarily a better than, you know what I mean?
No,
it's
exactly. Well, it's never, I think that if you look at it in a healthy way, like me changing, getting better,
it's up in the ante,
going where I need to go, like that's about me. And I don't need to compare it to anyone else. And if we're doing that, then we're missing out on opportunities to kind of lift each other, to kind of celebrate each other's, what each other's potential, what we can be, what we can become.
Yeah. It's almost like, I used to always say it's like knowing I was always more afraid of I know my potential, and I was more afraid of, I don't know, I guess I've had fear. I think I just relate a lot with what Jaylon said, at least what I heard, is that, really allowing myself to rise up and to be in a space and a place that I didn't think I was either worthy or deserved or had the right sexual orientation or gender identity or whatever, that wouldn't allow me to be in that sort of place or to have that sort of experience. And I don't know why I'm doing the little quotes.
Because it sounds good. I've been using my hands
little bunny foo, right?
Also the fear of becoming. And I think that we all, and anybody in recovery doing the work consistently, has to deal with that, because what I dreamed for myself pales in comparison to what my higher power has in store for me.
Always.
And things that have been showing up for me, ways that I have been participating in, like doing this on a regular basis. I never thought about this. I could sit somewhere and talk to you until the cows come home, but there were times when people didn't want to hear what I had to say. But there's so much more to this, and so much more to this elevation and becoming, that sometimes I just got to sit back and take the ride, you know?
Yeah. I've really appreciated that Jaylon has been a part of this.
I know Jaylon's ride or die.
Year. Yeah.
Ride or die.
We've learned a lot from Jaylon.
And I'm also, Jaylon is kind of like the captain of the team. I'm really grateful for folks who've reached out to us and have told us things that they've connected to, or just have told us how much they enjoy the podcast. I know I've said this before, it means a lot to us to know that people are listening and connecting, because ultimately that's our goal. Our goal is to connect and to create more of a home and a safer place for folks to kind of like listen in and think about things that maybe normally they don't think about.
Yeah. So I think the biggest lesson, and I was talking to Bonnie about this before, it was, and I've heard it, it's been coming at me through all the work or whatever, but it has to do with how I've been showing up at work and how I've been showing that my attitude and my actions really kind of do determine how I view my environment. Because I had made a decision to stop bringing the negativity to work. I was in a situation at work where it's like I wasn't going to be leaving the job anytime soon, and I needed this job to sustain me. So I had to figure, how am I going to fall in love with this job, or at least fall in like with it? And I decided, okay, no longer am I going to come and judge people as harshly as I was, because basically I've fallen back into some of the. But then I stopped with the gossip, or I stopped character assassination, tearing people down. That I think was the easiest part of this effort. It was not giving my negativity to other people, but the next part, and I'm still working on that, was what's between these two ears, and not, of course, obviously I'm not sharing with anybody, but the way I think, and that's why when we were saying before, it's like, okay, great, my actions are one thing, but my thinking has to be like, and I have been trying to see that just because people aren't doing what I want them to do doesn't mean that they aren't contributing in a way that is necessary or important. And it's been helpful. It's been very helpful, because I definitely and I realized that it is something that wasn't going to change overnight, because this has been how I've been. This has been my MO for a really long time, even before I was completely aware of it. So now I get to do some work around it. Yeah,
a kind of POV shift.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, as we near the end of tonight's episode, our last episode of the year,
and the season,
of the season, I think we did this last year. Can y'all think of maybe if there was like one thing you could give to people listening in based on like your experiences of the year, what would that one thing be?
I'm just going to say, surround yourself with people who allow you to be who you are.
I like that. Would you say surround yourself with people that allow yourself to be who you are, or be who you want to be? Or is that the same thing?
Well, I think it's a combination, because number one, the work is on my end. Because at some point, I'm at a place now where I'm in a different place. Like, there was a time where I was so concerned and so caught up with what everybody thought. I'm in a place now where I am concerned only as much as I'm thoughtful. But in the time that it's going to take you to get to a place where you are no longer caught up with how people think of you, if you're already starting to surround yourself with people who are lifting you up instead of kind of tearing you down, or placing you in some compartment or box, or not allowing you to just be. So it's twofold. It's like, it's not their responsibility to accept you, to lift you. It's great if they do. It's a bonus material.
Yeah. I w- take mental health serious. Yeah, totally. I was going to say, what I would say is like, do scary things, like do things that scare the shit out of you. Like, I think that's what would be like my message for this year. I think I finally did a lot of things that I was scared to do for a long time. And so I think that's what I would say is do scary things, but like be mindful about it, you know, and like I haven't done it alone, even though it's felt like it has been at times that way. But I think I would say do scary things, like do things that you want to do, even if you're scared. I think that maybe that's what I say. Do what you want to do, even if it scares the fuck out of you. Yes.
I like that. I think I would say, allow yourself to be wrong. And for example, like using myself as an example, you know, what if the person who I have all these thoughts about, what if all my thoughts about that person are wrong? You know, like what if all the things I'm telling myself are so horrible about this person are wrong? You know, there have been times where I'm listening to someone and I think they're like absolutely obnoxious. And then I remind myself, actually, this person has people in their life that love them, have people in their life that enjoy them, and they see something that maybe I don't see, right? And so maybe there's something that I might not be seeing, something I might be wrong about. And I think similarly, ideas that I might have about myself, you know, maybe I'm wrong about the limitations I think I have, or maybe I'm wrong about the things I'm holding on to that make me upset. Because if there's anything that's been happening this year, and I think it also ties into both what you and Lewis were saying is, you know, I've surrounded myself with amazing people. I've done things that have been scary, and I've also, which is kind of scary, I've also have kind of forced myself to kind of act as though maybe I'm wrong. And what's been really wonderful is that I've been able to have restorative experiences, you know, and I've had people around me that have been able to carry me through those things. And I think also like by doing things that are scary, if I do that repeatedly, you know, I start to develop a muscle for it. And then suddenly kind of my tolerance, or maybe not my tolerance, but things become a little less scary, or if they're not a little less scary, they're much more tolerable, right? I just get much more capable of handling those situations.
Yeah. I got one of those Facebook reminders today of like, you know, shit you posted once before. And on this day in 2014, I posted a photo of the childlike empress from the Neverending Story. Or yeah, the Neverending Story, right? Have you ever seen that?
Go on.
Anyway,
Yeah.
and she says,
Yeah.
it's always dark in the beginning.
Okay, so
The childlike empress.
this is it. This is it.
Who are you? How do we reach you?
Well,
Yeah.
if you want to reach me, you can always reach me on the gram at LouisLou86. In the future, I realize that I need to have my TikTok.
I tell people to what are you on TikTok?
Well, TikTok, I'm LouisLou70 something. It's like it's really.
Oh, well, I'm sure if you go to Lulu's Instagram, you can find
It's
their TikTok.
LouisLou70. It's actually my birth year, so it's like on TikTok. But
You used to say you were born in 86?
No, 86 was my page. 86 was my pager code. It was like,
Oh, okay.
86, you're out of here. Calm down.
Calm down. All right. You all can reach me, Bonnie Violet, at aqueerchaplain.org or on all the things at Aqueer Chaplain. Yeah.
And you can reach me at @lucasccc on Instagram. I recently posted a video of me with my cousin's dog.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Yay.
My first personal post
I
on
love that.
Instagram.
I saw you just started following the podcast today.
Oh,
I did.
Yeah. I got a little notification.
You know why? My cousin was looking at my Instagram and she's like, "Why do you only follow these two people?" And I was like, "Those are the co-hosts." And she opens it up. She goes, "So you don't follow your own podcast?" And I was like, "Oh shit, you should probably follow the podcast."
All right.
you can find us, all of us, on Instagram at the CC podcast. Since Anthony was going to read it.
Oh, Or if you want to send us an email, you can send us an email at podcast@castrocountryclub.org. Or if you're feeling extra chatty, you can send us a voice message at https://www.speakpipe.com/@the CCC.
Yes, the Castro Country Club is a safe and sober community center for all people and a refuge for the LGBTQ recovery community.
We provide programs and services that help people change their lives by supporting their personal growth.
Our vision is to reduce the suffering of addiction by connecting people to community, opportunity, and support. You can find more information at castrocountryclub.org.
Yes, and tune in every Tuesday at 4 p.m.-ish Pacific Standard Time when we go live on our Castro Country Club Facebook and YouTube channels.
But not until February, right?
Yeah, we're taking a little
We're
break.
going to take like a break.
Yeah, we usually do this after our, after
So
the
we'll come
season
back in
ends.
February. So
Hey.
check out our
We'll be
Instagram. What, are you going to read that, Anthony?
I love
What?
you. We love y'all too, Jaylon.
We love you, Jaylon. Yeah. Did I have something?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, well, I guess.
You only have one job. Just do it.
Find us on all of your favorite podcast sources.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
at the CCC.
Is that it? Well, that and we love you. Thank you for sticking with us this year, for our old and new listeners, for
Exactly.
people who've reached out, for people who are struggling with sobriety, our working programs. We're here for you. We love you. Come back and see us next year.
Yeah. Let us know
Right.
what you want to hear on our speak pipe.
Yep. Until next year.
Until next
Bye-bye.
year. We love you. Bye.